everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ask a Comedian. So today we are very lucky to have the one, the only, the funny mummy, Jenny Wynter. Yay! Hey Jenny, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. I'm really excited.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you too, because you are the only comedian I know.
I'm the only comedian in the world.
Yeah, and that makes it really, really good, because that means you're the best comedian in the world.
100%. And that's a very good piece of career advice, kids. It's in your field, be the only one.
Exactly.
Very easy.
How did you even get into this? How did it happen?
Well, it's funny because when I was growing up, I always wanted to be an actor. I loved drama. I just loved performing in plays and things like that. But I thought I'd be a serious actor. And I did some plays at school and then some plays when I went to uni. And I always got cast as the funny one, just always. But I didn't really pay any attention to that. It's only later that I look back and go, like that was probably a clue that I didn't pay attention to at the time. And then one night I heard about an improv night that was happening, and I thought, improv, I loved doing improv at school. It's perfect for my life because I don't have to go to rehearsals, you just rock up. And so I started going along to these improv nights, and I just loved it so much, and it gave me a lot of confidence that people found me funny. And then after that, when I saw a sign up for a stand-up comedy competition, I had enough confidence from the improv that I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I just entered it. I had no idea what I was going to say when I got up, but I just thought, I just need to sign up for it, because I know that if I know that I have that date locked in, that I have to get up and do something, I will put together something. And it went well, and it just snowballed from there. So I had no idea when I did that I'd actually be doing comedy for my career, but I'm so glad that I did, and yeah, I've been doing it ever since. So that was about 15 years ago.
That's amazing. So what did you do as a day job before you were a comedian?
Well, that's a very good question. I worked in a few different arts admin roles. So I was always working in the arts area, but more from the side of organising and doing behind the scenes stuff. And it's funny because I've heard this term of a shadow artist, which is sometimes people who really want to do like the be on stage or do the actual performing, but don't quite believe in themselves enough to pursue it, that they end up working behind the scenes. And that's not to say there aren't people working behind the scenes who really want to do that, because there are, but there's also people who maybe are holding back a little bit from what they really want to do, but they think, that's the next best thing. So that's definitely what I was doing. Was I wanted to be on stage, but I didn't quite have the guts to go for it. So yeah. It's funny. And then the other job that I had was being a mum. So when I started performing, I already had 2 very little kids. So that was part of why I wanted to perform too, was just to have a hobby to get out of the house sometimes.
I get that. And I'm so glad that you were brave enough to do that. That's amazing. That's really inspirational. Now, are you brave enough to answer some questions that the kids have sent in?
Oh, God. So, yes, I'm ready.
You're ready? Because this is my special book. So this is a special book where I write down all of the questions that the kids sent in. And you have a page of questions.
Oh, exciting.
I know. There was lots of questions that came in for you. Here, let me find it here. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
The first question from Luna. Now, she asks, do you have an assistant? And I think that means like, it either means 2 things. It either means that she thinks that you're like a magician, and like a comedian could be like a magician, and you have an assistant, or it could mean you're a superhero, and do you have a sidekick?
Oh, I love that. Oh, well, thank you so much for your question, Luna. So I actually do have an assistant. So not in every show that I do, but in my favorite shows that I do, I have my sister comes
Oh,
on
cool.
with me, and she does the keyboard for me because I do musical comedy in my acts. So she'll do the keyboards and some backing vocals, and sometimes we even like banter together on stage, which is so much fun. And that the really cool thing is that the sidekick now, that's turning into something else. So she and I are now going to be putting together a new musical comedy duo. So she's being promoted from assistant to, you know, that's what happens if the sidekicks work well, they get their own movie. So
There's hope. There's hope for sidekicks everywhere.
100%. Keep on sidekicking 100%.
Oh, that's exciting. That's so great. Now, Hugo has a question for you. What makes you laugh?
Oh, Hugo, that's a good question. You know what makes me laugh actually more than anything? Oh, there's two things. Schitt's Creek. I just so much. That makes me laugh out loud every time.
Love. Yes. Oh my God, David. Oh my God, David.
Oh my God, ew.
Oh my God, ew.
I just love that show. And it's so funny because my husband and I realised that I cannot watch it without, at the end of every episode, going, oh, I love this show.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It just comes out of my mouth. So that's the first one. The other one, honestly, my kids crack me up so much. Oh,
you have got funny kids.
They are very, very funny people. And honestly, I can honestly say they make me laugh more than any comedian that I've ever met or seen.
Is it genetic, do you think?
I'm the only one, but I've seen holograms of people pretending to be, But
is it because you're funny? Do you think you pass down your funny to them?
That's the question, isn't it? Is it genetic or is it being raised in a funny family? Yeah, I don't know. I think it probably is them getting caught up in the joy of making each other laugh and trying to make me laugh and me making them laugh. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of competing for audience going on in our house. Yeah,
you need to it's like when I was little and like people would come over and I would force them to sit down and I would perform for them. Like that's like everybody who walks into your house. It's just a given that if you're coming to the Wynter household, you must sit down and be the audience.
Absolutely. Yes. They're all just loving it. So.
Yeah. That's so cool. And Lachlan has a question. Lachlan wants to know, do you have a favourite prank that you like pulling on people?
Oh, gosh. So, Lachlan, that's a really good question. Probably one of the pranks that I do is, it's not so much a prank, it's more of a little joke, but like if the kids ask me something and I pretend that I've heard them say something else, which I find hilarious. And I'm sure they think it's hilarious too. So it might be like, hey mum, have you seen my book? And I'll go, what, your hook? Where's your hook? And they're like, no mum, my book. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And just keep on going like that. It's so lame. It's so not. It's hysterical.
Oh, your poor kids.
I know. Yeah. Sad. I call it my mum joke.
Yeah. Well, actually, there is a question here from Lucy. And Lucy wants to know, because you're a professional, you'll be able to give her an answer on this one. Why aren't Dad's jokes funny?
Why aren't Dad's jokes funny? Your poor dad. Oh. So Darren, why aren't your jokes funny?
Yeah. Lift your game, Darren.
Your poor dad, Darren. Darren is actually Lucy's dad. Why aren't Dad's jokes funny? You know, here's the thing, right, Lucy, is that jokes that might not be funny to you can be really funny to someone else. And this is the thing, is that there's some people doing comedy and I don't laugh at all during their jokes, and it's not funny to me. But I also know that doesn't mean that it's not funny to the people that are laughing. And I think that's where sometimes people think that's not funny, that's funny, or that's not funny, that's funny. But actually it's like raspberries, you know, you might love raspberries and someone else hates them. Does it mean that one of you's right and one of you's wrong? No, just different taste.
Love that.
I
love that. That's awesome. That's a great explanation, and I'm sure Dad is very appreciative that you've cleared that up, and that actually in a parallel universe, Daryl is really funny.
Yeah, you're hilarious.
Yeah.
You just got to find your crowd.
Now, Jack wants to know, what's your favourite way to make people laugh?
Oh, well, Jack, my favourite way to make people laugh is to pin them down and blow a raspberry on their belly until they're basically about to wet themselves.
So, like strangers, yeah.
Unfortunately, strangers don't take kindly to it. And it's hard to get gigs where you're allowed to do that, especially during COVID. I mean, that part of my career is over.
Yeah.
But my favourite thing to do is actually to talk to the audience and find out a little bit about somebody in the audience and make up a song. So I like making up silly, funny songs in the moment, because I find that's it's kind of funny. Like, well, it's always really funny because people are funny, so it's great to pull those things out and then sing about it. But I love too that when you improvise with the audience, whatever you create will never ever ever happen again. So I love that, because then it's funny, but it's also, there's something a bit magical about that.
That is very cool. That is very cool. And I think what we're finding doing this interview series is that the more questions that you ask of other people, and the more that you kind of open yourself up to finding those little bits that make other people who they are, the more you find you have in common. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, do you ever find that when you're doing your shows that you're actually like connecting with your audience?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's right. Because I feel like it's so crazy to me that performers sometimes feel like, or even writers or whatever that is, are the ones that get up and share their stories or share themselves, because we have that desire to communicate does not mean we are the only ones with amazing stories, because everybody that you meet has got something interesting about them or has something fascinating about them. So for me, I am genuinely fascinated. I love meeting people from the stage, and I love shedding a spotlight on someone else and to celebrate them, because it does unite us and makes us realize, all of us have something to say. It's just that only some of us are motivated to get up on a stage and say it ourselves. So I do that by proxy. I like to be the representative of.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for taking one for the team there, Jenny. Appreciate it. Kalash wants to know, do you have any pets?
Oh, Kalash, I do. I have a beautiful dog who's a Lab Retriever called Buble, and he sheds so much all over the floor. I'm going to pushing every day out of him. And then recently we actually got 2 kittens, which is crazy to me because I'm not a cat person. I've never really liked cats. I am in love with these kittens. They are so cute. So I've got.
What made you want to get cats?
Oh my
if
God.
You're a dog person.
I cannot believe how much I adore them. I'm like, I just am besotted. I constantly, now I barely have any photos of my kids in my phone. It's all photos of my kittens. We've got Bowie and we've got Betty White, and they are just delicious. They're so beautiful.
Oh my goodness, that's so cute.
It's so cute. So yes, I love animals.
Okay, here's one from Josh. What are you scared of?
So, Josh, that's a scary question. I remember once my son asked me that question, and he said, what's your biggest thing that you're scared of, Mum? And I said, probably if something horrible happened to you or your brother or sister. And he was like, mine's cockroaches. So mine, my real one, it used to be snakes. I used to be terrified of snakes. And do you know what cured me?
What?
Was when I went to Canada. Because in Canada, if you go on a bushwalk, you're not going to see a snake. But if you see a bear, really, that's genuinely scary, because they will come to want to get you. So, yeah, my fear is now bears and snakes.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine. Like, it's hard enough walking along looking down for snakes, but now we've got to worry about bears as well.
My gosh, I know. And then after that happened and I came back to Australia and I did go on a bushwalk and I saw 2 snakes while I was walking. I didn't love it. I didn't like recommend trying to find snakes, but it didn't scare me nearly as much as it would have absolutely sent me screaming at one point. So.
Oh my gosh, you're scared of bears. Oh dear. So I won't send you any teddy bears anymore because
No.
flashbacks. Not good.
PTSD.
Okay, all right, we won't do that. So here's a couple more questions. Did you always want to be a comedian when you grew up?
I always wanted to perform, definitely. Yeah, I had that compulsion in me. And well, my mum was a performer. My mum was actually a singer. So definitely had that sort of showbiz thing in my family, and a lot of my family are musicians. But I always thought I would be like an actor like Meryl Streep or someone very serious and hardcore. So yeah, it's funny though, isn't it? Life sometimes turns out just a little differently from how you plan. Sometimes very differently, but sometimes it's just like, yeah, like I am performing, but not in the way that I thought I would be.
There's still time. You might end up, getting that.
That's right. I mean, yeah, Eric Banner, he started out doing stand-up, and yeah, you never know.
Yes.
Scream as well as make people laugh, yeah.
Watch this space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's the best part about what you do?
The best part of what I do is that there's so much joy in being able to make people laugh. It feels really good. It feels so great, like to have that connection with people, and to be able to make that what I do with my life is pretty awesome. And also that 2 days are never the same. I never get bored, ever.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And here's one. It's, you can go as nuts as you want on this question, by the way. If you could have 3 wishes, what would you wish for?
Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to be selfish on this.
Okay.
Because I know the obvious answer is like world peace or no COVID, all that stuff.
Well, that's a given, so we'll leave that out of it. So 3 just for you.
Just for me. Okay. I wish that I could just eat chocolate all the time without making me feel sick. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I wish that I wish I could teleport. I really do, because I would love to be able to just go, boom, I'm in Canada, boom, I'm in England. Like, that would just be amazing. I'd love to do that.
And you would look super cute in those little Star Trek dresses too.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that's a bonus. That's the cream on the cake.
Yes.
And the other wish, look, I actually have dreams where I can fly. And I love those dreams so much. It's almost like I'm bouncing but really high, and I can just keep going as long as it is like a Peter Pan thing. It's like as long as I believe, then I can fly, and I love the feeling of that. So ironically, I'm actually terrified of small planes. I really do not enjoy that sensation. I don't think I ever want to go skydiving. I think I'm too scared. But if I knew that that was my superpower and I could do that with no risk, I think that would just be an amazing feeling.
Be so cool. You would rock that as well. You would. All right. So here is the very last question. What is your advice for kids who want to be a comedian?
Okay. So my advice, if you want to be a comedian, is write down the things that you find funny. That's the starting point. And when you notice, like in a conversation, that someone says something funny, write it down, because you will forget. And if you just write it down, if you get into that habit, or if you have a funny thought, here's the other bit of advice: don't judge it. Don't think, oh no, it's not that funny or whatever. If you think for 1 second that it's funny, just write it down. And then what you'll find is you're going to have a notebook before you even know it, full of ideas.
Yeah.
Because half the problem is if you think, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write some comedy, that can feel really hard because you're staring at a blank page and trying to be funny. Whereas if you've just been taking notes along the way, you've already got all this cool stuff to start from. And that's much easier to grow an idea from something than to be facing a blank page. So that's my first piece of advice for you, is just notice and write stuff down, and go and find what you find funny and go and enjoy it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's great advice. So do you do a lot of people watching? Like, are you the person in the coffee shop who's sitting there just looking at everyone going past?
Yes, and I love listening to people. So, like, if you're on public transport or something, you think, oh, no one's listening. No, people are listening. I love listening to conversations, and I think there's so much humour to be found in such unlikely places. The other thing I think is when you hang out with the people that you find funniest, like some of my best friends, just like pay attention to that. And my friends are constantly kind of like, oh, Jenny, because I'm always the one at the party who's like, who's got some paper? Who's got some paper? I need a pen. Yeah, so like I love just the things that naturally come up, you know. You don't have to try that hard to be funny if you're actually paying attention to what's naturally funny.
I think that's really, really important. I think it goes back to what we were saying before, that if you stop and listen and ask the right questions, that there's little gems all over the place, and you just have to kind of be open to hearing them and take them on board and find your own kind of funny.
Yeah, absolutely, that's right. And it's okay. Like, don't watch like when you see other people who you think are funny, whether that's comedians or even writers, you don't have to think I have to be like that to be funny, because like I said before, there's so many different flavors in the world, and just because you know, you don't have to try and be another flavor. You just find out what's my flavor, like what do I find funny and what's funny about me, and just that's all you have to do is just tap into yourself. And as you get older, you'll realize more and more, like you'll hone that and you'll really work out, oh, that's my kind of funny, and you be that. You don't worry about being anybody else.
Awesome. Well, Jenny, you're my kind of funny.
Oh, darling. Love you. You're adorable.
So thank you so much for answering those curly questions today. You did really well. Again, you're very, very brave to answer the questions from the kids. Now, if they have got some other questions that we haven't answered today, I'll get them to pop it in the comments, and then we can go back and have a look at it. And maybe if there's enough new questions, maybe we might be able to do another video where we can catch up again. So if you'd like to have another video with Jenny to answer all the questions, hit that like button, put your comments down below, and we'll make another time to catch up with Ask a Comedian. Thanks, Jenny.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.